Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the top 100 Pokemon from PvPoke plus some extra, and we're going to rank them all for the Open Great League. I asked in the community tab, what should I do for the video today, and we're going to take a look for now at the Open Great League and what Pokemon are the best for the current meta. Those are of course still not final rankings or anything like this, will never be. It's of course on my own opinion, but I feel like it's still kind of going to give you a good overview on which Pokemon are going to be very interesting for you to use, and so let's move right into it because you have quite a lot of Pokemon to rank here. First one, Abomasnow. Abomasnow is going to be one of the coolest Pokemon right now to core break the current meta, and so I will put it into the A tier. There's not going to be always a huge explanation for every Pokemon because it would just make the video like 30 minutes long. So, next one is going to be the Frigibax here. Going to be an interesting Pokemon here, interesting Dragon, but for me, B tier. By the way, all Pokemon here, of course, going to be usable as they are from the top 100 from PvPoke. So, well, if your favorite Pokemon is a bit lower in the rankings here as well, it doesn't mean that they're not usable. Next Pokemon is one of them that I really want to use again as well. It's going to be Ariados. Getting a double buff really makes this Pokemon an interesting one for sure. Having Extra Lunge as well as Trailblaze is going to make this Pokemon a very strong one, very fast one with also the buff of Poison Sting. A very cool anti-meta Pokemon for sure. Made a video about it already where people sent me in some gameplay and looked really strong, so I definitely want to make a team around as well at some point. Aurorus, I have not really seen anybody really use it yet, but I still feel like this Pokemon has quite a lot of potential in the current meta. I'm going to put it into the A tier, but again, I feel like there's not a lot of talk about this Pokemon yet, but this might change in the future. And here we're going to have the first S+ tier Pokemon, which is going to be the Azumarill. This Pokemon is so much better this season, has so many good targets, and also against like the current meta of like Clodsire. While it's a poison type Pokemon, you still have a lot to do against it, so I would definitely assume that Azumarill is going to be one of the most common ones, especially also in the Show 6 format, Show 6 Pick 3 format, of course, going to be one of the best Pokemon to run. Bastion, while it got nerfed this season, still has a lot of play currently, but definitely a little bit less than we had before, and so I'm going to put it into the A tier pick there. It still has some potential, of course, but it is definitely way worse to play it right now because there are just way too many Mud Slappers and just generally speaking ground-type Pokemon around. Carbink is a bit higher ranked, but I would put it still into the same kind of tier list. A tier currently like the tier list of like the rock type Pokemon, I guess. But Carbink has kind of similar problems like the Bastion, just the meta itself around it right now makes it a bit difficult to play right now. Castform actually got buffed a bit here apparently, like in terms of the rankings with the rating form there. We still gonna put C tier, I just have not ever seen anybody really use it. Maybe has some potential, I honestly highly doubt it. But yeah, we're gonna put it into the C tier. I think it's kind of worth it for that one. Charjabug made a video about Golbat earlier today where Charjabug was also on the team, so I think check that one out as well. Looked actually very promising, dropped below the rank 100 for PvPoke, and so I'm going to put into the A+ tier. But I still think this Pokemon is going to have a lot of potential, so I would be imagining that this Pokemon is going to come back as well eventually. Could be also soon S tier again, but right now I'm going to put it into the A+ tier. Have not actually seen it against me ever yet, so in the season, so it's going to be interesting where it's going to really rank later on. I actually played Chestnut for a bit, and you never see a video, and that's for good reason, because Pokemon did not really seem to have a lot of play in the current meta, and so I'm gonna put it into the B tier as well. I feel like it's kind of where it deserves to be. Very difficult to play right now. Like, while a lot of grass type Pokemon have a bit more play, I feel like there's too many answers against it, but also maybe I was just very unlucky, but yeah, I had Clodsire against Space here all the time. Clefable going to be our first S tier pick, a very fast-paced Pokemon. Thought it would be actually a bit better than it actually was at the end of the day, but still a very solid pick for sure and has a lot of potential for the Open Great League. Next Pokemon we're going to have here, Clodsire, being for sure an S+ tier pick. This Pokemon is so good right now. The most common used Pokemon as well in the Show 6 Pick 3 format right now as well, so definitely something to counter as well for the future. We're going to have Greninja next year. This Pokemon got a big buff this season as well by just having counter Pokemon removed from the meta. But it's going to help this Pokemon out quite a bit because the main threat for it is kind of gone. And so Greninja is a great anti-meta pick right now and definitely an A+ tier pick for sure here. Next on, we're going to have the Cresselia. Kind of also dropped down a bit, kind of similar to the Charjabug, and so I'm kind of curious where actually the spot is for this Pokemon. I'm going to put it for now into the 8+ tier. I think that's kind of where it's supposed to be as well. I think it's kind of where it should belong right now. Wouldn't really put it into S tier anymore, which is kind of good, but still a very usable Pokemon for sure. Yogong, on the other hand, I would put into the S tier. I feel like in the current meta, this is one of the best core breakers to run, and so for sure S tier pick for me. And a bit of a lower S tier pick is also Diggersby. Has so much potential right now, very strong Pokemon to use, and so I kind of want to give it a bit of decent rank here. Donphan is going to be next. Donphan is definitely a very spicy must-slap user. I'm going to put into the B tier though. A bit too squishy, has a lot of potential though, don't get me wrong, but they're just better mud-slap users, I have to say, so that's why it's kind of there. We want to have the Dragonair going to be the A tier here, kind of similar to Dragonite. Dragonite actually would put a bit higher up as well just because of the typing, but both of them are kind of still similar. Yeah, you could, actually I kind of want to put them to the same tier. I feel like Dragon types kind of all do the same right now, and so I'm going to put it there. Drapion, I'm actually gonna put into the S tier, played recently, I heard a lot about it, a lot of people really enjoy this Pokemon, so I feel like it deserves this one, as also the next Pokemon here, which is going to be the Dunsparce. With a rollout buff, this Pokemon is for sure currently top tier to run, and I would really recommend it. This is not going for the next Pokemon here, which I'm going to put into the B tier. Dusknoir kind of really disappointed me when I played it recently on this channel as well. Honestly, don't really recommend to go for this one right now. Just the coverage is just missing for this thing. And also, I just kind of got hardware the entire time, so maybe this also kind of impacted this a bit. We have Feraligatr next, which is the next S+ tier Pokemon, for sure one of the strongest Pokemon to run right now. And followed up by one of the Pokemon that can break it, which is going to be Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn has the issue that's a bit too slow, which makes it a bit awkward in a two-shade scenario. For example, even against the Feraligatr, where it can lose the matchup, which is kind of ridiculous. So it's a bit of a tricky I want to use, but still has some potential. Also, Florges has some potential, but again, I feel like Florges has like the kind of curse that other fairy-type Pokemon are just better than it, and so there's no real reason to use it. Again, because also you don't have great coverage on this Pokemon, so B tier is where it is. Gallade, I could say have a little bit of play here for the current meta, but also the frailness kind of holds it back. I'm going to put into the A tier. I think that's kind of where it's supposed to be, as Gastron is for sure an S tier pick. Honestly, I thought it would be a bit stronger than it actually was at the end of the day, but still one of the best Pokemon to run for sure, and we can move on to the next Pokemon. We want to have Gogoat, not really the greatest, interesting Pokemon for sure, the Vine Whip as well as the Leaf Blade, but then again, like, kinda nobody has this Pokemon yet. I cannot even try it out because I don't have it, and so I kinda feel like that's kinda where it's supposed to be. Next Pokemon is going to be Golurk, one of the favorite Pokemon from a lot of people here right now. For me, kinda towards the A tier pick for sure. I think that's kinda where it deserves to be, and so I feel like this is kinda where it should also be. Again, other Mudslap users are a bit better, but it's definitely a better Mudslap user than the Donphan. Could be also into the A+ tier, would also kinda agree with this play, but I'm gonna put high up into the A tier. Same kinda goes for Goodra, kinda definitely dropped a bit in terms of usage here, but it's still a solid Pokemon to run, as you can move on into the next Pokemon, which is going to be the Golurk here. Next Pokemon here is going to be Guzzlord. This Pokemon got a bit of a change to its moveset, and I still think it's a very solid one in the current meta, being one of the Pokemon that can kind of break apart as well. The Feraligatr is kind of important, it's just very neutral against basically everything there. So yeah, for sure, still A+ in my opinion, even though it dropped a bit on the rankings, I still think it's a very solid one. Next Dragon type Pokemon is going to go into the Dragon type tier, which is basically the A tier pick there as well, with the Hakomao, but the evolution I would put actually into the B tier. Hakomao is a bit better because of the extra bulk at Brick Break, so yeah, would put definitely the Komao a bit lower than this. Next one, Hippowdon. Haven't really seen a lot of play from it, but it definitely got a bit of a buff this season in terms of usage and like ranking as well. So I don't know, I'm gonna put it into the A tier. I think it's kind of where currently most of the top tier Pokemon based on PvPoke, but that basically never really get usage, are currently staying there. So I think it still has a ton of potential, but I feel like a lot of people just didn't have the time yet to try out everything. Jumpluff, on the other hand, is for me very close to the S+ tier. For me, it's top S tier for sure right now. This Pokemon is insanely good, especially against the current meta, as a lot of water-type Pokemon are very good, and a lot of Mudslap users are very good, and you can kind of counter them. You might think Lantern is kind of gone now after the recent league change, but honestly, like season change here, but honestly, I think this Pokemon still has a lot of potential. I'm actually gonna put it into the low A+ tier. I used it recently just because the meta is very good for it again, and this is kind of the thing for it. Like, yeah, you don't really need the best kind of moveset if your typing is so good against the current meta. And that's the same thing for the Lantern the entire time, so I would definitely still recommend you try it out, but it's like low A+ tier for me when I try it out, so still for sure worth running. I went really positive with this Pokemon, and so for sure something that you can run still. Licky is going to be next, S tier, for sure. Licky was very, very solid for me, kind of like Dunsparce. Both of them are kind of on the same level, but kind of for me here at least. And so for sure, a Pokemon that you should build. Same goes for Lickitung. Not really. I feel like Lickitung is kind of deserving the A tier spot. I kind of want to try it out again. I haven't really seen anybody use it again, but I feel like it has some potential for a lot of kind of matchups here, so could see this Pokemon getting a bit of a return. Of course, Body Slam really hurts this Pokemon getting nerfed there. But the next Pokemon is honestly the most surprising for me. It's going to be the Lokix being A+ for me. Every time I battle against it, I struggle, so close to S tier for me for sure. This Pokemon really, really strong, even though it's like just barely in the top 100. This Pokemon has so much potential right now. A lot of top tier players are running this one, and for good reason. We want to have the Lurantis next. I haven't really seen anybody use it, but I still think it has a bit of potential, so I'm going to put it into the A tier. Machamp, gonna put into the A+ for me, just not S tier yet. I see a few more Pokemon pick it up now as well, but I still don't think it's going to be as crazy good as other Pokemon that are a bit higher up, mainly because also of the bulk that is missing. The Pre-Evolution has a bit more bulk, but a bit of a worse moveset, so I'm going to put into the A tier. Still a kind of decent fighting type Pokemon, but there's no real reason to run it if you have the Machamp. Meloma, on the other hand, has to be S tier in my opinion. I was thinking like it's more towards A tier compared to S+, but still Meloma is very, very strong this season and very, very cool one to run. Next S+ tier is though the Mandibuzz for sure. If you have not built a Mandibuzz yet, this is the season you really want this one for sure. Get this Pokemon. As we're going to have Marowak next. I will put it actually into the S tier as well. Very low S tier in my opinion for Marowak. Very strong Pokemon still though. But again, I still think it deserves the S tier spot. It's just very, 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 very consistent, especially there. But Mudslap and Bonemerang is just a very, very... Bone Club. Bonemerang is the German word, by the way, for Bone Club. Bone Club is definitely a very solid combination. For sure, Rockstar getting nerfed was definitely necessary for this Pokemon, because otherwise it would be very like the S+ tier. The other Marowak, still very strong, used it as well in the video, A+ in my opinion, very cool Pokemon to run. Meganium, C tier, don't really see the point of running this Pokemon at all, don't know how it's in top 100. Miltank, cool one, I'm gonna put it into the A+ tier. I think it's just because you have two better rollout users at normal type that nobody is using this Pokemon, but still I think it's a very solid one to use. We have the Galarian Moltres. I will put it into the A tier. I saw some video footage from it recently. I had it against me like 2-3 times. It is solid, but it is kind of like, yeah, definitely Golok level. I think that's kind of where it's supposed to be. It is not crazy. Like, it just needs a bit of a faster charge move that's not like Ancient Power, which is not stab and not really doing a ton of damage. So, yeah, that's kind of like the charge moveset is a bit more of an issue for it. We have Ninetales. I think it has some potential, but right now I'm going to put it in the A tier. I feel like Charma's coming back very soon as well again. That's definitely one of them. We have Oranguru. I feel like A tier is kind of deserved for this as well. Just getting hardwalled by any kind of Dark-type Pokemon is a bit of a tricky one, especially in the Mandibuzz meta. Like, against Mandibuzz, you have nothing that you can do. And the same goes for Lokix and also the Manoma, and so also, for example, the Drapion. And so there are just a lot of Pokemon where you don't have anything to do against, and that's definitely a bit of a risky Pokemon. But for anything else, it's a very good, cool Pokemon for sure. Just against all the Dark types, it's a bit risky. We're going to have the Pangoro next, and I'm actually going to put into the S tier. I think it's better than the Machamp for sure after trying it out a bit there. Having a combination of Night Siege plus Close Combat, this Pokemon is a lot of fun to play, but it's not top S tier, it's definitely like more towards A tier compared. We have the Quagsire next, still very solid against me as well. We battled against it so far, but yeah, with a much change there, this Pokemon actually did not even drop that far, and so yeah, A+ definitely where it deserves. Same goes for the Quillfish. I feel like there are a lot of Pokemon with a lot of potential right now that not a lot of people are running, and Quillfish is one of them. We're gonna have the next one, the other Quillfish, which I'm gonna put into the B tier. I don't really see the point of running this one over the Drapion, for example, unless you want to run both of them. We have Regirock next. I'm going to put into the C tier. Don't really see the point of it. Registeel is A tier for me. Yeah, you could argue putting it a bit higher, but too many Mudslap users are around. Same kind of goes for the Runerigus for A tier here. Don't think the coverage is going to help you out. I actually would put it into the B tier because Golok is A tier. Golok is just a better Runerigus right now for sure. We're going to have the Sableye. Close to S tier for me, but I'm going to put it into the A tier. Got buffed as well with, especially the Shadow variant is very good right now. Got buffed with the move Power Gem, which is really cool, so definitely very solid there. We're gonna have Samurott next. Haven't seen anybody use it. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Of course, I can't really say directly how good it actually is, but I haven't seen anybody use it, and I think it is not ideal because just for Relicata is better, the same kind of stuff that you want to do with it. We're going to have Samslash next, S tier for sure in the current meta, very solid anti-meta pick. Same goes for the Superior. I saw some Show 6 pick 3 formats recently where a lot of times Superior won actually the entire tournament, so for sure a very good Pokemon. Skuntank, A tier in my opinion, just a worse Drapion, but also still has a lot of potential thanks to the Trailblaze change. We have the Steelix. I think it has some potential later on. I'm going to put in A tier. We have the normal Stunfisk, which I'm going to put in B tier, because I guess like the water type and ground type mana doesn't really help a Pokemon that's weak to both of those typing. Kind of same goes for the Galarian one, but I still think it is a bit better. The cool thing about the other Stunfisk is you have the option to go for the Thunder Shock, which is still kind of the same as what Shot was before, and so it's definitely a bit more consistent, but yeah, again, I still think it's going to deserve the B tier rank there. You're going to have Swampert next. I think Swampert has a lot of potential. I saw a lot of people actually have great success with this Pokemon, so I'm going to put it into the A plus tier. S tier for sure as Talonflame, tried out several times, very good Pokemon. We're going to have next up Togetic here as an A tier pick. Interesting flying type, still on my list of trying out for sure, like still a Pokemon I really want to try out. But yeah, I haven't been really getting to it yet, but I think there are other flying type Pokemon that are a bit better. Toxapex, S tier. Like, no doubt about it, this season it's definitely an S tier pick. A lot of targets for the thing, especially if you take a look here at the S tier pick. You're going to have the Mandibuzz, which you can have a decent matchup against. You have a very good matchup against the Azumarill, and still a very solid one against the Feraligatr. Cool Pokemon for sure. We're going to have Trevenant. Trevenant kind of got a bit of a nerf with the meta that we have, and I'm going to put into the A tier. Umbreon, also A tier, would be a bit higher if Mandibuzz doesn't exist, but Mandibuzz is just a better Umbreon, which is like the main issue for it. Ursaring, one of my favorite Pokemon of this season, gonna be A plus for sure. And so we can move on to the Venusaur, which is also gonna be in the A tier. I feel like there are better grass types right now to run than Venusaur. Still, Venusaur has a lot of potential, so I feel like it kind of deserves a spot. Same kind of goes for the Walrein. I feel like Walrein, nobody really has been running this one consistently yet, but it is what it is. We're gonna see the same kind of A tier for me, also for the Galarian Weezing. Very cool say-so, but nobody really was running it yet with success. Could see this change because it is a core breaker kind of for Azumarill plus Mandibuzz, so it could definitely be a Pokemon that has more potential in the future. Whimsicott, one of the biggest surprises for me this season, S tier. For sure, S tier. This Pokemon was amazing. Would really recommend you to run this one. We have Whiscash next, which is going to be A tier because there's just Quagsire who's better. We have the Wigglytuff, which is A+. I feel like it has a little bit less targets this season. And then we're going to have the pre-evolution of the Hydreigon of Swilus in the A tier. I think I forgot actually Hydreigon, which could be also in the A tier as well, with the Brutal Swing changed there as well. But the A tier is kind of the Dragon type tier because they all can do the same. And it's going to be my tier list for the Open Great League. This is mainly towards the Go Battle League rather than, like, for example, the Show 6 pick 3 format. I still can, of course, put some kind of input from this in there as well. But S plus is the core meta that you really want to have. S tier is everything else, which is top meta as well, that you can really easily run. A plus, something that you should also invest in if you don't have yet. A plus, like A tier, is something you can run if you want to have some fun that are still working out really well. And everything below that is definitely a bit more tricky to run. And I think it's a very accurate tier list in my opinion. Let me know in the comment section what you would change, and it's going to be it. Bye bye.